Excuse my tardiness, everyone. I had to put some gel in my hair to avoid that the entire first 5 minutes of the stream would be about Hammer's hair being unruly. And it turns out, even spending some time with it, it's still a mess. So there you go. Hello, everyone. Are you watching the Denmark game? I know I am, and it's not great for the Danes. But I feel like they should have had a penalty just a few moments ago. 1-1 is probably still going to be enough for them to make it through, as long as Peru doesn't beat France. There were some people in the chat, but I was late opening my chat. So hello to everyone who was here so early that I didn't even have time to do the pop out for the chat window. I'm ready to do some tactics. The first 15 minutes will probably be a bit amputated. Because there is a Danish game going on, and now Eriksen on the ball. Eriksen with the pass out to left field. Sisto on the ball, and nothing really happens. Oh, actually they gave it away to an Australian guy. That's not great. And now Australia on the counterattack. Yeah, Denmark has not been the better team in this game against Australia, so that's not great. But on the other hand, Australia managed to play evenly with France for quite some time, so they're pretty strong. Let's take a look at my tactics rating. It's 3162. I believe that is a record. And today we're going to be working our way up to 3,200. That is the goal. Cool hair, says Dayan. And hey guys, says Greg. You look great, says Ibrahim. Hi Hammer, says Nils. And what's up, John, says GM Canty. Well, whenever you say John, I say Yoon. Can you tell us which minute in the game you are, so I know the delay on stream? I'm currently on 77:55. So right now it's 78 minutes on my stream. The first one is always very difficult, says Renault. That is absolutely correct. The first one I always struggle with. So that's going to be tricky. There's a new setup in the chess.com tactics. You get a much bigger board, so I had to adjust my screen grabs. And I may have to adjust this guy on the right as we proceed, just so that you're warned. Okay, I really would like to find a better solution than having my XSplit completely cover up the soccer game, but I guess that's not gonna happen. Tea time, says Bursting. That's actually interesting, because just 2 weeks ago, the temperature in Norway was 30 degrees for 3 weeks straight. That's 30 Celsius. And now it's back to 15. So now it's actually not that warm. And I haven't adjusted. For instance, I could have closed my windows. But no, I have not done that. So it actually should have been tea time. But I haven't had any tea. Maybe that's gonna affect my chances with the tactics not being alert enough. Okay, I'm just gonna start. We're gonna do this first one. Knight takes d4, played by white. My queen is under attack from the rook and from the white queen. Queen a1 is very tempting. Queen a1 is super tempting. Do we have any other moves? I'm gonna have to move my queen, so that really limits my options. So I have to move the queen. I would like to give a check. So that limits me to queen a1, queen a3, or queen a5. Queen a3 makes no sense because then you can go with the queen in between. So it's queen a5 or queen a1. Queen a5, then you can go king b2, trying to escape with the king. Which is an option you don't have after queen a1. So I'm feeling like queen a1 should be the correct move, probably forcing rook b2. And then you get a pin on the rook. And then the question is, what is the follow-up? Because then I have a check on c1, I have a check on a3, I have a check on... Ooh, I have a check on a5. Interesting, because the check on a5, now you no longer have king b2 because you placed your rook there instead. Yeah, I'm gonna go for that. Yeah, very good. So I lured the rook to b2, making sure that the king could not escape. And then I played queen a5. So now it's looking very good. I'm guessing c5 is the move. c5, knight b5, king c8. Looks pretty good to me. We're gonna see if there are any better options. I don't see it. Well, it has to be good, right? I'm gonna go for it. Okay, 1 point. 1 point to start the day. And my screen grab seems to be doing okay, so I don't have to adjust that. Good morning, Jon Ludvig, says Chesbay. Go Australia, she says. That is not acceptable in this chat. We do not cheer for Australia. In my Twitch chat, we have only one god, and that is Ericsson. So we cheer for Denmark because they have Ericsson. Why was rook b2 forced? Asks Chesscom D. Deutsch. It's because if he needs to move his king so that it protects his knight. And if he goes king d3, then knight c5 wins. And if king c4, then knight b6 wins. So basically it's about making sure that the knight on d4 is protected. And therefore he cannot move his king and he needs to go with the rook in between. 1 point is not very well paid for this, says Renaud. Well, I agree, but it's a tough life when you're at the top of the tactics trainer ratings. Ericsson is a flop, says Dodidor. May I just remind you that he just scored a brilliant goal. And then last game he had an assist. So I think he's doing okay. Although there are people I have noticed in my Twitter stream that people are saying he hasn't had he hasn't really played that well this game. But he started out with a nice goal. Let's go for the next one, but have some water before that. Okay. A study. I'm very good with studies. So I'm feeling optimistic already. Ooh, knight d7, knight b6, knight c4. Then king f4. King f4. King f4, g3 wins the queen. So knight d7, king d5, knight b6. If king c5. If king c5, then if king c5, what is our move? King c5. King c5. Knight d7, king d5, knight b6, king c5. It feels very close. King a5, queen a1, knight a4, king d5. But then my knight is pinned, and that kind of limits my options. Ooh, maybe knight a6. Excuse me. Knight a6, maybe it's similar. Knight a6. No, but then you have king b6. So that makes no sense. So it has to be knight d7, knight b6. Those two have to be the first moves. And then the king back to c5. And he's threatening queen a1, which is problematic. I kind of have to go king a5, no? King a5, queen a1, knight a4, king back. Ooh, a nice save by Schmeichel. Ooh, it seems like Australia is actually quite close to winning this match. Actually, is it called a soccer match or a soccer game? I'm very confused. Bishop f2 after king c5, says GM Canty. I want to remind you that if you know the solution, you will be banned for posting the right answer. Yeah, bishop f2 makes sense to me. But I don't actually see the follow-up. Bishop f2 takes. And then you go back to d7 and f6. That's brilliant. Okay, very good. That's only 1 point? Wow. Okay, next one. Well, knowing the answer, I'm gonna qualify as being certain you got the right right answer. So if you're just better than me at chess or calculating, then that also counts as if you knew the answer. Okay, I want to give away my rook somehow. Well, really what I want to do is give away my bishop. I'm not sure how I'm going to make that happen. I'm a piece up. So maybe I don't need to be that fancy. I'm a piece up. So I mean, worst case, I could probably just take this pawn. But rook g8 looks promising. Rook g8, you cannot take with the king because of queen g2. So rook g8, then rook takes g8. And then I'm kind of lacking a follow-up. Rook g8, rook takes. Yeah. So queen takes c3, that's not going to work. Queen e2 check, followed by queen f1. Rook h7. You take on h7 and you lose all your pieces. So I don't think that's going to work either. Honestly, I'm tempted to just take this guy. How bad could it be just taking a pawn that attacks your queen? I would think that's a pretty decent move. Takes, maybe you go queen h4. Queen h4, I can just put the rook back to g1. I mean, nothing much is going on. Take on c3. I'm a piece up. I have an attack. I don't see why I shouldn't. Why should I not take this one? It's very, very tempting. No, +1, +1. 12 seconds was the time I should have used for that puzzle. I spent 2 minutes 45 convincing myself that let's just remove this attacking piece. But I guess +1. +1 for me. Ooh, and the referee is about to blow the final whistle. There's 10 more seconds in the Denmark game. Australia has the ball, but what can they do in 5 seconds? Not much, I would think. And now it's 3 minutes past. Australia is on the attack, and a good tackle from the Denmark defender Schär, and the ref blows the final whistle. The game ends tied 1-1, and Denmark may be disappointed, but I think they were the weaker team actually overall in this game. Australia was pretty impressive. They're not considered one of the stronger teams. And Denmark with 4 points from their first 2 games. They have a really tough game against France, but as long as France beats Peru, they're probably going to make it through to the next stage, even if they lose against France. Lost means you won, asks Ested. Yes, actually it's not lost, it's løst. There is the Norwegian and in Norwegian, løst means solved. So every time that message pops up, it means that I have solved the puzzle. So løst equals solved. We're gonna do the next puzzle. Somehow I have 3 puzzles in a row. And that is not the normal way for me to start the day. So it feels pretty good. I'm pretty sure I have solved this puzzle previously. I think this puzzle I've had on... I feel like I've had this puzzle when I watched Sam Copeland do one of his tactics videos, streams. So I think the answer is bishop takes back, knight h3, and then rook takes g5. And then the queen has no way to defend f3. So I think I'm just gonna go for that. I'm actually a full rook down, so maybe something like bishop g5. You can go rook h1, but then bishop h6, and you still have that problem with the f3 square. Ooh, and it's not done. Right, because your king is escaping. But on the other hand, I'm gonna win your queen. So maybe I don't care. Yeah, I'm gonna take this one. And then knight f2, is that some kind of brilliant scheme? No. I'm just gonna take the queen. And 8 points. Okay, that was, I guess it's cheating a kind of, seeing as how I had seen that puzzle before. But yeah. I'll take it. 8 points. We're approaching 3,200, and so far I have gotten every single puzzle right, which is an unusual start for me. E7, bishop takes e7, knight takes d5. Maybe. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5. Queen takes a3. Maybe. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5, e7. Doesn't work. It does work. Takes e7. e7. I'm not sure whether it works. Takes. Might work. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5, e7. No, you just take on e7 and then take with the bishop on f8, because the queen it protects. Yeah. Other possible moves. So knight d5, queen d5, queen a3 is doing pretty well. If rook e8, then e7, queen takes f7, rook takes f7, king takes f7, and then pawn takes d8 with a knight, the under promotion. The under promotion takes with the knight. Sounds good to me. Under promotion is always attractive in puzzles. I should do a bit more thinking. Takes on g7, is that gonna work? Nah, I don't believe in it. Takes on d5 with an under promotion. I'm gonna do it. Okay. I feel a bit bad that I wasn't allowed to show my under promotion. I feel a bit bad. Okay, I'm gonna load the analysis board to show you the idea I had. Knight takes d5, takes back, queen takes a3. Now my idea, which I thought was pretty clever, was rook e8 and then e7, queen takes f7, rook takes f7, king takes f7, and now here the only move for white not to be in trouble, but also it's a move that means white wins the game, is pawn takes on d8 with the knight, and the knight gives a check, thereby preventing rook e1 checkmate. So if you had taken on d8 and given yourself a queen, then there would have been rook e1 checkmate. So that was pretty sweet, I think. I'm pretty happy having calculated that correctly, and it got me the points. What is black's defense to one queen g3? Asks Rubik. I don't know. I guess you could take on d4. Never mind. This is checkmate in 2 moves for black, being pointed out by the computer. That does feel like a good reason not to play queen g3. So that answers that. Let's go back to the puzzle. Just +1, but it's a hard life when you have 3,100 and something. Okay, another study. I feel pretty good already. It's probably gonna be stalemate, I would think. Probably a stalemate coming up. How to construct a stalemate? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm supposed to win this? So my pawn is 1 step away from becoming a queen. But if I queen my pawn, then bishop g3 check, and I lose my queen, and black is 3 pawns up, and at least one of those pawns are going to queen. So that's probably not good. How to create a stalemate. So in order to get a stalemate, I need to get rid of my knight. So knight e5 is very tempting. Knight e5, bishop g3, king d6. And now both f6 and king d4 are possibilities. Both of which win the game instantly for black. So I cannot play knight e5. And then I'm kind of out of ideas. So I guess I'm gonna have to move my king somewhere. But then how am I gonna... Maybe I should try to win the game by getting a knight to c7. So I can do king c8, bishop g3, and then knight b8, maybe? Knight b8, g4, knight a6, with the idea knight c7, and I queen my pawn. So king c7. But maybe I want my king on c6. Does that make a difference? So I can go knight b8 on move 1. Knight b8. Then a5. Knight a6. a4. King c6. Bishop g3. Knight c7. So the question, I think, is whether or not I should go knight b8 on the first move or the second. But if knight b8, then bishop g3 forces me to go king c8. So that doesn't really make a difference. Yeah, so if knight b8 is the solution, then it's a bad puzzle. Because then there are two ways of getting the same solution. So actually knight b8 cannot be the solution, because if it was the solution, then I could have made a choice between going king c8 first or knight b8 first, and it would amount to the same thing. That's not good news. Max in the chat, are there knight b8 to c7 shenanigans? Yes, I think there is. That is what I'm trying to figure out. But now I'm starting to think that the solution is something else. Because knight b8 and king c8 amount to the same thing. But if I'm gonna win this, I do need to get a knight to block the diagonal. So knight b8 does make a lot of sense. So I guess of the two moves, king c8 is a bit more forcing, because that threatens to promote the queen. So king c8 forces bishop b8, then bishop g3, then knight b8. Then knight b8. a5, knight a6, a4, knight c7, a3 maybe? a3, queen a2? Is that some sort of trickery? Yeah, probably black should just run with the a pawn. But on the other hand, I don't see what else it could be other than, because if I'm going to play for a win, then I have to get my knight to c7. And I don't see how else I'm going to accomplish that. What is the difference between playing knight b8 on move 1 or on move 2? Maybe, actually, if I go king c7, no, if I go king c8, then bishop g3, I have the option of taking the pawn on a7. and threatening knight b5. So then black goes king c4. But then how do I get the knight to c7? I guess if king c8, then bishop g3, knight b8, there is an option of going king c4, knight a6. No, that doesn't work. I don't understand the difference between going knight b8 first and king c8 first. Fox suggests knight takes a7, but if knight takes a7, the bishop can just take back. So I don't think that's the solution. Knight b8 allows a5, then bishop a7, says Prasanna. That is a very good point. That is brilliant, actually. Knight b8, a5 allows bishop a7. Very good, Prasanna. Thank you. That's a pretty huge point. So then I'm happy to do this. g4, I don't understand that move. I felt like a5 should be the solution. Ooh, okay. This I did not consider. Why not just queen, asks Trippelgaffel. Well, it's because then the bishop would get a skewer on the king and queen. Max says, no chat reading, tragic. I'm sorry, Max. In order for me to concentrate on actually solving these, I'm gonna have to pay a lot of attention to the board before I start resigning to checking what you guys have to say. I'm so confused. I have no idea what pawns can go where, says Mac Image. Well, I think now you know. My pawn is 1 move away from queening, and his is 3 moves away from queening, which really should give me an edge. But this tricky bishop b8 move lets him do... Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this. Honestly, I should have seen this coming. I was just so obsessed with finding out the difference between king c8 and knight b8. Okay, so I think knight takes g3, knight d4, g2, then knight d4. Knight d4, king takes d4, and I get the skewer in the end. I think that's the solution. Very good. +1. That seems to be a repeating pattern for today's puzzles. Good game, says Rubicon. What is the 50% for? Asks Max. Okay, so the chess.com tactics solver gives you points depending on how quick you are to solve it. So if you see the this part, the tidsmålsättning, which is the estimated time you need to solve it. So based on other people solving this puzzle, the puzzle has decided that in order to score 100%, you need to get all the moves correct as well as solving it within this time. And for this puzzle, it varies between every puzzle because people have solved it in different times. But for this puzzle, it's you have to solve it in 1:27. I solved it in 11:56. So what it means is that since I got all the moves correctly, I get 100% on the move part of the puzzle. But seeing as how I spent 10 more minutes than what was the average solving time for the puzzle, then I get 0 points, well 0% out of 100 in time, the time part of the puzzle. So I score 100% for moves, 0% for time, and you mix those two together and you get 50%. And I think it's constructed so that as long as you have all the moves correctly, you cannot lose rating. Who solves that puzzle in 1:27? Asks Timothy. I have no idea. No idea. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Dai. There's probably some people doing puzzles with an engine, and that's why the average time for solving puzzles are, let's just say, it's beyond what I am capable of, and I am a pretty decent chess player. Sam is in the chat, and Sam is rating me with 37 viewers. Thank you, Sam. He says that it's the 50% is a percentage of people who solved it correctly. No, that is the 52.8. So the percentage of people who solved it correctly is this number. So 52.8% of people who tried this puzzle solved it. This 50% over here is what gives me the score, and that is the mixture of time and moves. Raid, says Blarms. I can't imagine someone wants to do puzzles with an engine. Can someone's ego really be that frail? Asks Fox. And the answer to that is yes. Yes, I think so. So if you do it in 1:27, you get 2 points, 100%, asks Timothy. No, if I get it in 100%, I would probably get like plus 9, I would think. Plus 9 maybe. Hopefully I'm going to solve a puzzle 100% and we can see. It also depends on the puzzle rating. So this puzzle has a rating of 3,256. So if I solve a puzzle that's higher rated than what my tactics rating is, and if I solve it for 100%, then, well, let's just say it's going to be raining rating points down on me. Muck Image says, what about f5? Can we win without the pawn win the pawn without drawing? Yes. Queen against a pawn you can win, even if the pawn is on the two squares away from becoming a queen. Even then you win with the queen against a pawn. The queen is a pretty good piece. Okay, let's do the next puzzle. This has been a fantastic start. So far we've done 6 puzzles and got them all correct. 25 points away from 3,200. Feels pretty good. Okay, f4 is my first idea. f4, trying to open the 5th rank towards the bishop. I guess I could also just try to make a new queen. h2 is definitely a possibility. Here's an idea with f4. Might be an idea. f4, bishop takes f4, and now you no longer have knight f4, which might be an annoying move in a lot of variations. So yeah, it's f4 or h2. Those are really the two only options. I'm discovering a new point that after h2, no, after f4, bishop takes f4, h2, you're actually threatening rook h3, or are you? Maybe you're not, because then you have king e4. h2. If knight f4 after h2, then you can go rook g3. Rook g3. King d2, rook takes d3. That's pretty solid. So after h2, then knight f4 isn't really a good move. So h2, rook h1. And then I can go f4. Then I can go f4. Bishop takes f4. Bishop takes f4. Rook h3, king e4. h2, rook h1. No, rook h1, I can just go rook h3, and I threaten the bishop on d3. Okay, that hurts. Oh, come on, I didn't even see his threat. Bishop takes f5 is checkmate for white. That is so poor. That is so poor. Oh, that is terrible. I had the right idea, but I just completely missed his threat. h2 and then bishop takes f5 is just checkmate. The idea is that you take back and then knight e7. Boom. Okay, that was incredibly poor. I was so obsessed with my own threats that I wasn't noticing that my own king was in a bit of trouble. Yeah, that was not great. Okay, shame on me for that one. And it lost me 11 rating points. Basically, that's makes me go back to start. It's a tough life. Okay, new puzzle, new chance. What are we gonna do here? Queen c2, queen d6, queen takes g6 is pretty promising. Do I have something even better? Maybe queen c2, you can go rook b7. Rook b7, maybe. Queen c2 feels pretty good. f5, can I play f5 at some moment? f5 and then queen h2, maybe? f5 is pretty good. f5, queen d6 maybe? Just going back. But then I can play f6 check. Feels pretty scary for the black king. f5, e takes f5, queen h2. Also feels pretty scary. Okay, f5 is very interesting. d5. d5 doesn't really threaten as much as f5 does. f5, g takes f5, then g6 gets me a passed pawn pretty high up the board. Should be decent. Queen c2, then rook b7. Rook b7. And it feels very, very dangerous for black, but I don't actually see an instant follow-up for white. So f5 feels pretty good. f5. Yeah. Max says d5, trying to play queen d4. Yeah, okay, that's also pretty good. Queen d4 is effective, both as a defender and as an attacker. Options. But f5 just feels really good as well. I mean, f5, what is black gonna do? I have a strong suspicion that this is one of those puzzles which should not exist. It feels to me like white has several different ways of winning this. f5, I'm really tempted by f5. d5. d5 actually threatens d6 as well. d5, then queen d4. It's very tempting. Yeah, I agree. d5. d5, maybe rook b7, but then I can just take on e6. I don't know. I kind of liked f5, but it's all pretty good. F5 feels winning as well. There's a pawn up rook ending, says Z Fox, with queen c2, queen c7. Yeah, but I think I'd rather checkmate black's king. I think this is one of those situations where getting an endgame with a pawn up is not gonna happen. And also, Z Fox, himself points out that there's rook c3 winning a pawn back. Queen c2 seems a good starting point, threatening queen c7. Yes, but I'm starting to think both d5 and f5 are stronger. I think both moves are stronger. I like the f5 idea more, says too weak, too slow. Yeah, but I'm biased because f5 was my idea, whereas d5 was Max in the chat, who said he was agreeing with Mate Learner. So I kind of feel like d5 is someone else's idea, whereas f5 was my idea. And so I'm biased to go for my idea instead. But both moves seem pretty strong to me. I think both moves are winning. C5, D5, Queen B4, D6, King F8, and then you just queen. D5 takes, Queen D4, Queen D6, Queen A7, F5. Yeah, I'm gonna be reporting this puzzle. I really believe there's two winning solutions. Okay, maybe f5, g takes f5. G6, Queen B4. That could be... No, but then you just exchange queens and go G7. If D5, then Rook D3, asks Hubix. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't really considered Rook D3, because then the queen is hanging. But D5, Rook D3, Queen C2. And then the queen is hanging. The queen is hanging, and that just causes so much trouble. Yeah, I don't think you can do that. D5, Queen C5, says Budin. And then D6, I think this pawn is just queening. D5, Queen C5, D6, Queen takes D6, Rook takes F7. I should have trusted my instincts. I mean, come on. Why am I not trusting myself? Shame on me. Shame, shame, shame on me. F5 was the correct move. Yeah, shame on me. Okay, and why wasn't d5 good? d5 looked pretty good as well. Well, queen c5, then I have d6. King d8. Really? King d8? Wow, that is just different level. Why can I not play this move? Ah. Wait. What? Rook d3. Ooh, that's very cool defending. Ah, that is stone cold. Wow. And what about queen d6? Wow. Wow. That is all I have to say about that. Wow. That is some stone cold defending. So queen d6. Queen d6 was a good defensive move, whereas against f5, black had no defense. I did not trust my instinct. Shame on me. Okay, a study. A study. Probably white is trying to make a draw. No, wait. White is not trying to make a draw because knight c7 is basically an instant draw. So white is trying to win. And this construction with the bishop and rook is kind of funny. But winning against it is no easy task. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Oh, this is gonna be tricky. Check. 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 That's not gonna work. Check, check. Huh. Winning this with white, with just a queen and a knight, it feels difficult. Wait, if we have a position with the knight on d5 and a queen checking from the a file, then maybe I can make some progress. Nah. Knight c7, king e7, knight d5, king e8, queen e4, but then king d8, and I have no more checks. So I have to go queen e5 check, but that's not gonna work. Okay, so how about queen e4 check here? No, that's not gonna work. Queen c7, king f7, and you run away. So it has to be knight c7 to start. And now maybe I should go queen c5, but then the rook can block. Yeah, so right now I have no good checks without the rook being able to block. So I need to go knight d5. Now the rook is no longer able to block. So now is the moment I need to do. Maybe it's just queen d7, knight e7, and then this is winning. Yeah. Okay. But then maybe there's a fortress. No, there's not. Okay, so it was actually a pretty simple puzzle. It was just about giving checks. And ooh, bishop f7, bishop f7. I missed bishop f7. No. No, just as I say, it's a pretty simple puzzle. Then I messed it up. Of course I did. Queen d7, the only way to win. Because then I check and get the rook. Okay, I understand. But I thought it was just, I could just play this. But I had completely forgotten this bishop f7 move. Bishop f7, brilliant move. Takes and then g6. And no matter what white does, it's stalemate on the next move. That was, yeah. I'm not being aware right now. I'm missing puzzles in a row. Let's see, the Zugzwang says too weak, too slow. Okay, so queen d7 is the idea. And the point is that wherever black places the rook, you're able to give a check. So something has to move. If the king moves, then it's checkmate. If the bishop moves, you can just take the rook. So you have to move the rook. But now with the queen on d7, no matter where you go with the rook, you can do a double attack on the king and rook. Okay, I'm not doing very well right now. Actually, this puzzle I have solved previously. I don't know why I'm getting this puzzle, because I have solved this one before. So I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. I solved that one before on this account. I'm not sure why I'm getting it again. Wow, have I solved every puzzle they have? Wow. I have solved every puzzle chess.com has. This puzzle I've also done before. To be honest, this puzzle I have failed twice before, I think. And I believe the answer is queen e6. I have solved this puzzle before. That's not good. Is that gonna be an end to the tactics solving streams if I have finished the entirety of chess.com puzzles? What to do now? I'm actually not sure. I can give a check and then take g2, then take f4, then queen f2 check. Huh. Queen f5, king takes h4, rook takes g2, queen takes g2, queen takes f4, queen g4, queen f2, queen g3. Then what? Then what? I'm not sure. I am not sure at all. Murtank, posting engine alliance will get you banned, so please do not do that. King h6 suggests Petril. Yeah, that's a reasonable move. It's not like white can really do anything, right? King h6, rook b5, rook b5. Ooh, actually, maybe it's just queen b2. Queen b2. Ah, but then rook takes f7. Queen b2, rook takes f7, takes back. This is the way I usually miss this puzzle, because there's some rook takes f7 and it's a perpetual I did not anticipate. Good morning, whoever has a morning right now. That sounds like a good summation of current affairs. Yeah, I'm actually stuck and I feel embarrassed because I feel like I've done this puzzle before, so I should be able to solve it. But last time I did this puzzle, the engine just went king h2, queen a1 resigns. And now king g4 instead is a much tougher move. Actually, one of the benefits... No. King h6, rook b5, queen b2, king takes h4, rook takes g2. It feels a bit slow. Rook g5. Rook c1 suggests Prasanna. I'm not gonna play rook c1. I mean, come on, dude. That's too much. Actually, rook c1 does threaten rook c3. Rook c3 is a pretty nice threat. And if rook d7, then I can... Okay, maybe I'm gonna take rook c1 seriously. Rook c1. It's a bit counterintuitive, but I guess it's right. Okay. Okay, a study. And a study I have not solved previously. So this is going to get my mood up. I'm already seeing motives with bishop g7 in the end. Looks pretty promising. Is there some kind of stalemate? No. Should I just go for it? Probably not. Yeah, I think that's it. King d4. That makes no sense. King d4. I can just play this and win your queen, no? Ooh! Oh, that's so good. That's so good. King takes c5, and now if you take the queen, it's stalemate. But honestly, when I played knight e3 check, I wanted you to take this pawn, because that was my idea. To do this, and then this, and then this. And now, no matter what you do, I get bishop g7 and this fork. King d4. That's kind of cute. That's pretty cute. Okay, so I got the solution I wanted. I really thought it was strange. He went king d4 instead of king takes c5. But in the end, it was the same solution. Just king d4 delayed the thing for one move. Another study. I'm feeling good about these. I guess I'm not supposed to take this pawn because it's limiting the queen, the king's options, but it's very tempting to take it. It does feel like a free pawn. Thank you to Chess Bay for gifting a sub to Sega Genesis. It's tempting to take this one, but ooh, maybe just knight b5 actually. Knight b5 has the added benefit of protecting my pawn on c3. Knight b5, queen e3, knight d6, knight f7, knight h6, knight g4. That's a nice trip to take around the board. Six points. Okay, I'm getting back. I'm getting back the lost ones. Everyone needs more carrots in their life. That is so true, Chess Bay. I'm guessing this is just going to be a checkmate. But how? How? So if I need to be able to stop king h4. So in order to stop king h4, I need to keep my queen attacking the white rook. However, bishop e5 looks pretty good. Bishop e5 and then king f2. Bishop f e5, king f2, queen d2. And it's checkmate. That was not massively difficult. Okay, he gives up the rook with check. I guess I'm just going to take it. And that gives me 1 point. This puzzle I have also seen before. I am pretty unhappy right now. I am pretty unhappy with the repetition of puzzles. As far as I remember, the last time... No! I was illustrating that the last time I did this puzzle, I played e6, which was a mistake. And this time I was going to take on d6. Oh, come on. I was right-clicking. I was just illustrating that the last time I did this, I played e6, but the solution is taking on d6. Okay, if I get one more puzzle I've done before, I'm quitting. I was just illustrating that this was the mistake I made the last time. The tactics tilt. Maybe there's some setting I should do to make sure that puzzles I've made a mistake don't show up again, because I remember what I did, right? Okay, I'm very confused about this. No arrows, you're not an illustrator. Well, it's... A lot of people watching Norwegian TV says that I'm so good with arrows. It's my specialty. Bishop h5 suggests Prasanna. No, bishop h5 I'm not going to do. The knight takes e5. It feels like bad things is happening in this diagonal. It's a major problem for me that the bishop is being attacked. So probably I'm just going to move my bishop. It's a big problem that the bishop is attacked, so I move the bishop and tie black up in the process. That feels like a solid solution. I don't even need to calculate. I can just use logic for that. And now rook takes g6 is pretty promising. Thank you, Timothy, for the sub. Thank you for sticking around and for liking what you see so much that you're gonna subscribe. So I'm gonna take on g6 and then take on g7. 1 point for Hammer. Okay. This is a mess. So many pieces hanging, but how much material am I down? I'm a pawn down, because I mean knight e4 traps black's queen. So I might be just, you know, happy about that, trapping the black queen. So maybe I should just go for it. Trapping black's queen does feel like a good start to any puzzle. Knight e4, I guess bishop h3 is the only move. But then worst case, I just take the queen and I'm a piece up. Okay. Is it the queen sacrifice? Queen takes f4. Maybe queen takes f4 is very good. Rook e4 also traps the queen. Fair enough. Fair enough. Rook e4 traps the queen. Whereas knight e4 allows bishop c7. Bishop c7. Huh? Okay, fair enough. Do you think Carlsen is going to dominate Karana in the World Championship match? Asks Wrench the Donkey. I don't know. I think if he wins a game early on, I think Karana has no chance. But as long as he can stay in it, then you know he's always going to have chances. I mean, I thought Magnus was going to wipe the board with Karyakin, and Karyakin ended up coming very close to winning the match. I mean, he was up by one with, what, 3 games remaining? It was very close. Sam Copeland was saying that they intend to have arrows and stuff, but they are in the middle of reprogramming the boards. That sounds about right. So that's good. I think tactics puzzles should have arrows. But I also noticed that they are making adjustments. So, for instance, as I started the stream today, I had to resize my screen grabs because they have made the board much bigger and made some changes to the column on the right hand side. So it does feel like there's coming some improvements for the streamer part of the tactics trainer. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to tiebreak, says Yeti. Magnus has got to be the favorite in tiebreaks. Well, I mean, if it goes to tiebreaks, Magnus is going to win. I think you're not going to find a lot of people who's going to disagree with that assessment. If it goes to tiebreak, it's 4 rapid games. 4 rapid games is so much that even if you make a huge mistake in one of them, you can come back in 3 of the other ones and still win in blitz. So I think if it goes to tiebreak, Magnus is definitely going to win. Okay, let's do another puzzle. I have made a lot of mistakes over the course of the last... Ooh, I had 3 mistakes in a row. That hurts. Okay, but I'm coming back. And another study. That feels good. Because I have been pretty consistently strong at the studies so far today. Rook g7. Queen takes g7. Knight takes e6, king d7, knight takes g7, and then what is the point? Bishop g7, king b6, bishop d4, knight somewhere, f5, bishop takes h8, c6, and white queens. Easy enough. Any protests from the hammer? I'm gonna say no. Actually, I gotta check queen c6 instead of bishop g2. Queen c6, knight e6, bishop e3, king b4. Oh no, bishop a3. Bishop a3. Ooh, and here's a study. Bishop a3. Bishop a3 and then knight d4 check and king a4 traps the bishop. No, because then bishop b4. Okay, rook g7 takes, knight takes e6, king d7, knight takes g7, king c6, knight e6, bishop a3. That is definitely has to be the right beginning. Knight d4 check has to be the move. King takes c5 has to be the move. And then how do I trap this bishop? Ooh, it's so close. Rook g7 takes, knight takes e6, knight takes. Ooh, knight f3! Knight f3! Knight f3 and then knight e5. This is the best puzzle ever. This is the best puzzle ever. This is so good. I mean, this is just so good. This might genuinely be... I have never seen this before, but this might be my favorite puzzle ever. Knight f3. What? Knight f3 and then knight e5, knight c6, and I grabbed the bishop. That was a fantastic puzzle. That was so good. Knight f3. That was amazing, says Max as well as Archer. Can you upvote puzzles? Probably you can, but I don't really know how. How many moves ahead, asks Sega. I guess that was about 8. I'm quitting chess, says G Moves. Yeah, no, I really loved that one. Knight f3 was very nice. I thought it was over when you got the queen, says Timothy. No, that puzzle had a lot of depth to it. There was a lot of tricks you could step into there. Unfettered Asperger, says Clumsy Rook. Yeah, that's calculation. Calculation on the screen. That's gonna look a bit... Well, you call it Asperger, I call it concentration, I guess. You're just shouting knight f3 like, what the hell is he talking about, says G Moves. Yeah, no, I was pretty happy with this. This is a Kubel study. And actually, Kubel is the study author that we have been looking at the most at the Norwegian chess school. And he's very impressive. Kubel studies are just quality, and he's done so many of them. So if you want to have some very fancy puzzles, I recommend you just try to get a disc of studies by Kubel. Magnus mentioned him once, says Chessbay. Oh, really? In what context? Because basically, whenever we were solving studies at the NTG high school for athletes, in which chess was one of the programs, we did a lot of Kubel studies. Rook g7. So the first trick is that if you take back the queen, then bishop takes g5 is a draw. So first order of business, do not blunder the knight on g5. So I go knight takes e6. And now king d7 attacks the knight. So once again, you cannot take with the bishop. Although the computer says taking with the bishop is possible. Kubel, I don't think Kubel makes mistakes. So I'm going to say that taking with the bishop is not possible, that the computer is wrong, and that table base will prove the computer wrong. Anyway, I take with the knight, and now king c6 attacks the pawn. If I try to defend this pawn with my king, then bishop b2, and there's no way I'm getting out of this situation with the bishop stuck in the corner and the knight unable to move without losing the bishop. So in this position, I had to go knight e6, and then bishop a3 attacks the pawn on c5, and now knight d4 is the idea. King takes c5, king a4. So if the bishop moves to either b2 or c1, then there's knight b3, check, attacking the king as well as opening the attack towards the bishop. And if bishop c1, then this is just your average fork. So that's not going to work. So he had to go bishop b4. And here I was struggling a little bit before announcing knight f3 violently in a fit of joy, I would say. Knight f3 is so brilliant, opening the diagonal towards c3. So I'm taking this square away from the bishop. The knight protects d2 and e1. So that means the bishop has nowhere to go, meaning that the only move black can make is king c4. That's the only, he has to move his king, and king c4 is the only way to keep protecting the bishop. And then I move my knight to a better situation, knight e5. And the idea is that if king c3, then knight c6 is a discovered check. But also if king c5, I have knight d3 with the fork. Why did he have to give away his queen, asks Mutz. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So the first order of business was that if queen f2, then knight takes e6 is a fork on the king and queen. If queen takes h8, then knight f7 is a fork on the king and on the queen. And if queen e8, the final possible move, then knight f7 check. The king moves, and then knight d6 once again is a threat on both the king and the queen. Also, if you go step up to the 7th rank, then you get the discovered attack. The rook attacking the king and the knight attacking the queen. So after rook g7, the queen was gonna be lost no matter what. But the most tenacious defense was the move that was played, queen takes g7. No, I'm not playing viewers today, but I strongly disagree with Chessbase assessment that Hammer rarely plays viewers. I mean, once a month I have a stream dedicated to playing viewers, and very often I play viewers as a warm-up to the Arena King tournaments. So I disagree that I rarely play viewers. So you should come back to one of those streams when I specifically play against viewers or as a warm-up to the Arena Kings. I would fall into all of those forks, says Mats. Well, now you know to watch out for them at the very least. Okay, let's go back. There's 12 minutes of this left of the stream. And then I'm going to go play a Blitz tournament in Oslo. På Grünerløkka i Stjernen Sjakklub. So that's my schedule. What are we going to do here? Bishop. Ooh, I'm right clicking again. I'm right clicking. I'm stepping back from the right clicks. Bishop G4 feels extremely normal. Bishop G4, the knight takes E7. That is stunning. Bishop G4, the knight takes E7. That's very cool, actually. Very cool. So I better not do that. While on the other hand, after knight takes E7, I can go King D7. King D7, knight takes C6. And I can just take that back with the king, maybe? Okay, so I guess the big question here is whether or not I can just take this knight. So knight, pawn takes knight, queen takes back, and then king d8. Honestly, I don't really see the problem with that. And then I have... Okay, I do see the problem with that. Because there's a sacrifice on d7 and then another rook coming. But how much material do I have? In that case, I would have quite a bit of material. So bishop g4, knight e7, king d7. No, king d7 maybe is not so great. But king d8 is not even possible. Yes, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna allow knight takes e7. So probably I'm just gonna take this knight, takes back. I'm up 2 pieces. King d8, queen, bishop e3, queen f6, rook d1, bishop d7. No, actually that I'm not gonna do, because then queen g4 might be a bit of a problem. King d8, bishop e3, maybe queen e5, bishop check, bishop d7, takes back, new check, queen d6. And then I end up with 2 rooks and a knight, which should be enough material, but I'm not sure. Bishop g4 looks best, says Marcus. But bishop g4, knight e7, bishop takes h5, knight takes c6 is a bit of a problem. Yeah, I'm gonna take the knight. I mean, king d7 has to be bad, right? King d7, bishop e3. Yeah, it has to be bad. Knight e5. If I get to c6, maybe it's not so bad. If king d7 is the correct answer, then this is just insane. King d7, bishop e3, knight e5. It has to be too much, right? Yeah, I don't believe it. I'm gonna go here. So my main line is queen e5. Can I play knight e5? Knight e5, then queen g3? I would think that's a no. But on the other hand, then I get the e8 square from my king. Knight e5, queen g3. Queen e5, check, bishop d7. Then also queen g4 is interesting. Now queen g4, maybe I can take on h2. And then e6. I'm guessing black will give up his queen in some lines here. It says too weak, too slow. Well, that's kind of what I was figuring. So queen e5, white can win the queen by force. But the question is whether or not black has enough afterwards. So I'm going to have a lot of pieces with black, but my king is going to be a bit iffy. And I have newfound respect for the queen, so maybe I should avoid giving up my queen? I don't know. But what are the alternatives? The only real alternative is knight e5. Knight e5, queen g3. Actually, maybe just something like knight e5, queen g3, queen e4. And if you go just getting control over the light squares. And then if you go something like move the bishop to attack the queen, then I go knight f3. So knight e5, queen g3, queen e4, bishop g5. Can I go knight g3, g takes g3, And then, I don't know, just queen h7. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of attack, but then I have very good control over the light squares, which might be a good thing. Actually, what I should do, knight e5, queen g3, just queen g4. Queen g4, queen takes e5, and then rook g8, and suddenly I'm attacking. And as long as I give my king the e8 square, I'm pretty safe. Yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty good about this knight e5 move. Oh, even queen g4 was good here, it says. But if bishop g4, then knight takes e7. At least I saw that. I thought this was maybe good for white. But apparently, I get to c8 and b8, b7. Okay, fair enough. So even bishop g4 would have been pretty good for black. Probably safer than going into this. And now after bishop e3, I should go queen f6, rook d1, bishop d7. Now the point of going queen f6 is that I now have the square on e6. So if this sacrifice, then I have king e6, which I think is the point. And now I didn't do this because I was scared of queen g4, thinking that after e6 there's bishop g5 winning the queen. But as is being pointed out by the computer, I can here choose to go knight b8 is the computer's first choice, which I understand that I didn't see, honestly. But also knight e5 is pretty good. Okay, that sounds fair enough. Queen e4. Yeah, and then just start pointing pieces towards black's king. That sounds fair enough. So I should have done that. What I did was knight e5. And after my intended variation, queen g3, queen g4, queen takes e5, rook g8, check, king e8. The computer is saying black is better, but that the other line was more convincing. At least I survived the attack. I guess that's something. At least I survived the attack. The computer says I'm better, but not winning. For instance, g3, bishop d7. This bishop getting to c6 is pretty comfortable for black. Okay, so that was the puzzles for today. In the end, I got a few mistakes towards the end, and I end up losing some rating points compared to the start of the day. Overall, I lose 5 rating points. That's not too shabby. I had some very good solves during the course of the stream, including what is now my new favorite puzzle, which I solved very convincingly. this Kubel study. So I'm gonna run off to my next event, which is a blitz tournament over the board here in Oslo. I hope that you guys are back for my next stream, which is going to be on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Oslo time. That's 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to do the Bullet Arena Kings, and I'm going to spend the weekend preparing for my Speed Chess Championship qualifier, which is due on Tuesday. So I'll prepare for this Speed Chess Championship qualifier. I'm going to be competing with Lenier Dominguez, with Eric Hansen, with Georg Mayer. So that's going to be exciting. I'm going to spend some time preparing during the weekend, so no streams then. And I hope to see you back on Monday. How do you spell Kubel? Asks Timothy. I'm going to post that in the chat. And France has scored a goal against Peru, says Chessbay. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to miss that, but such is the life of a chess professional. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope to see you again Monday, 8:30 p.m. Oslo time, 2:30 Eastern. See ya.